Today we're going to be focusing on negotiating good guy guarantees. Generally stated, in order for a landlord to incentivize a tenant to not only pay its rent while the space is being occupied, but to give it back expeditiously if that tenant becomes a non-paying tenant, it is imperative for landlords to require to get a good guy guarantee from the principal. I'm going to jump into the deep end of the pool and talk about 10 examples of steroids that I like to inject when wearing my landlord hat or when wearing the tenant hat, how to counteract them. They are as follows. Number one, the guarantee should be for both base rent and additional rent. The problem is additional rent is broadly defined, so as a tenant, you want to try and narrow the definition for purposes of the guarantee. The guarantee should be of not only payment, but of performance. If you are a tenant, try and get rid of that. Number three, it should state that the guarantee remains in effect after a lease assignment. Simply put, if you are a tenant, you should come up with your exit strategy in the guarantee when you're signing it. One, that the guarantor will be released when there's an assignment if the principals of the assignee sign a similar good guy guarantee, or alternatively, if the net worth is above a certain threshold of the assignee, you also would be released in that situation. Number 4, 5, 6, and 7 is that the guarantee, or the right to terminate the guarantee, should not be allowed to take place until 4 things happen. Number 1, a certain point in place in time passes, say 1 year from lease commencement. 2, all work commenced by tenant has been completed and it's been completed lien-free. 3, that the landlord be given no less than 90 and up to 180 days advance prior notice of the tenant's intent to vacate. And 4, that the space be returned to landlord in the condition otherwise required under the lease. Not so innocent, that language, by the way. What you should do as a tenant, plain and simple, is try and reduce the time period from more to like 30 to 60 to 90 days as far as the advance notice. As far as the 1 year obligation that you can't exercise, try and delete that. And as far as the condition required under the lease, unless you've carefully negotiated your repair and restoration and removal obligation clause, such as Article 3 of the REBNY clause, beware. Okay. Number 9. Okay. The full amount of the security deposit must remain intact. Okay. Plain and simple. As to a tenant, that monies cannot be used to pay any rent that's due and owing, and the tenants just basically need to confirm that they can kiss that baby goodbye. Number 9. As a landlord, I want to try and recoup, at least in the short term, my unamortized cost of entering into the transaction. If you are a tenant, you want to try and delete that, or alternatively limit what costs can be reimbursed. I try and limit it. My lease goes out as just brokerage commissions and free rent concessions. One last point on that: if you are a guarantor, you want that obligation to sunset. Say once you've been in the space for 24 to 36 months, you no longer have the obligation to reimburse the landlord for unamortized costs. 10, not least, is that if there are 2 or more guarantors, if one of them leaves the business, that person who's leaving should have the right to be released from the guarantee as long as the remaining members agree in writing that that is the case with the landlord. That is another exit strategy put in.